Paris Agreement should not be looked at as a political event and start thinking of it as a source code for every reporting obligation you will ever face. Okay? Every reporting obligation. So you will ever face. Now, the four article which does the work starts with article number 2, and you guys have done a massive job here as well. Thank you very much for whoever has summarized it, right? Last assignment, we summarized the Paris Agreement. Good job done, team. Okay, most of you have submitted, really impressive. Who has not submitted, not a problem. Please submit it now. Nothing is late. Articles 2, if you have seen there, that sets the destination. That creates that goal, right? It holds the warming well below 2 degrees and pursue efforts. Remember these words, pursue efforts well below. These are the two words which you should underline and make into notes. Pursue efforts toward 1.5, well below 2 degree. And the part most people skip today is make finance flow consistent with the pathway. So they decide good targets, 2 degree, well below 2 degree, 1.5 degree centigrade, yeah, pursuing the effort to achieve, but they will not put money behind it. Do you think they can ever achieve those targets? Absolutely not. And that's the problem. With this, please understand the last clause is why your CFO today now gets the question from lender about emission data, because they are responsible to answer a question on this, all lenders, because most of the financial institution across world, actually exact number is 5,700, which includes central banks, your country banks, as well as certain financial houses like BlackRock, etc. All of them has signed a pledge called UNPRI pledge, okay, United Nations Principle for Responsible Investing. And this UNPRI body is responsible to deploy Article 2, Article 4, Article 6 and Article 13. They are responsible to follow Paris Agreement. Clear? They are responsible to check wherever the money goes, it goes with a purpose that should not increase emissions so much so that earth temperature rises above 1.5 degrees centigrade pre-industrial level. That's what the focus here is. Now, Article 4, if you look, that creates the NDC requirements. All NDC data or requirements is listed there with the process. So the country in its own pledge, that is the nationally determined contribution pledge, part comes from Article 4. So if country is aligning themselves, they are aligning with Article 4. It is a one-way ratchet mechanism. Each successive NDC must represent a progression before the last one. For example, I told you last time when we were talking about India has an intensity target of what many percentage? What is the percentage reduction we are expecting in 2030, guys?
45%.
35%.
45%.
35%.
35.
45%, right? Not 35, 45%.
Yeah,
And
45.
they increase it by 2% between 2030 to 2035. That's a new global stock take. Now that why that number has increased? Why? Because we want to reach to net zero. We cannot stay at the same place. We have to keep going towards that. And that comes from where? Article number 4. Every year national scheme will tighten. Any country you are in, every year after year it will tighten. And why? Compliance obligation landing in your client place getting harder and harder, never easier. So if you are late in consulting journey, you will have much more bad scenario to face. Why? Because when you are guiding your client will say, how can I improve so much in so less time? Because time is shrinking. Clear? And here comes article number 6, which governs the carbon market. Yes, and this market allows carbon taxes and carbon incentive. 6.2 covers the bilateral trades, we covered last time, internationally transferred mitigation outcomes. ITMOs is covered under 6.2, where corresponding adjustment, two country cannot count the same ton. One country has to retire it. Once another country buys from it, the other country has to retire. So double counting get reduced through 6.2. 6.4 is a Paris Agreement credited mechanism, which is CDM, right? You remember CDM, which came from Kyoto Protocol, got better framework in 6.4. So for us today, Article 6 answer a question that comes constantly carbon accounting, who is entitled to claim this reduction? And Article 13 is another most important one, and that is the one I want you to remember. Why? Because it enhances the transparency framework. Common reporting rules, common tables, technical expert reviews applying to developing countries alike. For the first time, they created this table where all country has to follow the same table. You can decide your own pathway, but achieving that pathway has to have a similar outcome or the goal. So Article 2 is linked to Article 13, and Article 13 is the place because of that transparency. Paris Agreement everybody loves, and it became a cornerstone in sustainability. And it runs all 5 year cycle, all of them, right? They submit NDC every 5 year. India was late by 1 year this time, and they have to show what is the implementation process, what is the reporting process, and what is the current stock, global stock take, right? So stronger, and then submit the stronger NDC. That's what it is required. Notice the shape of that loop. Shape of that loop is linear. Yes, it exactly is the shape of corporate carbon management cycle as well. Set a target, measure it, verify it, and then tighten next year. Are you getting the point? Exactly same process. So the architecture which you are learning at company level is a fractional of architecture governing countries. That's why I teach both sides. Yeah. So you should be capable to even go to conference of parties from your company. Now, NDC 3.0 has been started, right? So the architect now which you looks very elegant, and how it is performing at conference of party 30 in Belém, Brazil in November 2025, December 5, 6 it happened. 119 countries had submitted their new NDC. India was not there. And about 74% of global emissions they have reported. So this 190 countries emits world how much? 74%. And if you look that is genuinely higher participation comparing to NDC 1 and 2, which happened immediately. First 5 year was 2020, and then 2021, 2020, and then 2025. So this is the third participation which we are seeing. And this was the highest by any ground. 74% people coming together and showing their book, homework. In a classroom, also not fine. All students showing the homework, right? A few of them will sleep. Some of them could not wake up early. Some of them lost the notebook. Some of them is their stomach is aching, right? All that excuses we have seen the classroom. Same happens in conference or party. Somebody will say, sir, I didn't have time, right? I was doing something very important. Yes, all that happens. So here also, so 74% of the class showing you the homework means that was a great achievement even at conference or party level. Now, those pledges delivers less than 15%. That's a very important number. Less than 15% of the emission reduction we would need by 2020, 2035. Okay, to stay on the path of 1.5 to 2 degrees centigrade. What is the current path? What is the current path? 2.3 to 2.8. So out of this 74% of 119 countries, which will be approximately 85 countries, right? 85 countries, out of that only 15% of them are there on the right path. Okay, out of 85 countries. Rest of them are not able to meet their targets if even in 2050. Yes, even in 2050. That pathway is right now above 2 degrees centigrade, which is 2.3 to 2.8. So I want you to hold these facts at once, because sustainability professionals tend to collapse in one of these data. So if you know this much, you are much better off even some of the policymakers sitting in conference of party, right? So if you only see 119, 74% and become complacent that you know everything, lot many things to be known. And one of the greatest thing here is 2.8 degree. We are not achieving 2.2 2 degree or 1.5 degrees centigrade above pre-industrial level. Now, here is the reading I want you to take into client conversation, and that will be COP30 did deliver real things. Okay, a commitment to at least triple adoption of finance by 2035. So the number has increased roughly $120 billion a year for tropical forest forever facility. This is the biggest achievement. Or TF, T triple F, right? Tropical forest forever facility, right? 120 trillion only launch for that. Launch with a 6.7 billion pledged. Already 6.7 billion has been pledged. 59 adoption indicator across 7 sector also has been done. An implementation accelerator that reports to COP31 this November. We are waiting to see that as well. It did not deliver two things campaigner wanted the most: the global roadmap for phasing out fossil fuel. You know that since Dubai, everybody is debating fossil fuel has to be included. Nobody is ready to do it for the ending deforestation, etc. as well, and neither made the final cover decision. So these are the two decisions which has been delayed, and now the part matters commercially to you. This is no There is no world in which 2030 gap simply stays open. 2.3 to 2.8 scenario is a bad scenario. Every ton government cannot close through international agreement, it closes domestically through the compliance scheme, a tax or trading, border adjustment. That is why you are hearing CBAM, CCTS, and that's what we are going to look into in a couple of slides later. The gap you are looking at on the slide right now is not an abstraction, it is a forward order book for compliance obligation, and that will land on the companies you are going to advise. That is why now you have to spend next four slide talking about the same thing. Now let's go to see how countries count their numbers. So IPCC guideline and ETF, there are two mechanisms where they get counted. So if a client will ever ask you why national inventory says one thing and their corporate report says another thing, this is the slide which answers that query. Country do not use the GHG protocol to measure their emissions. Yes, they use 2006 IPCC guideline for national greenhouse gas inventory. That's the standard they are using as updated by 2019 refinement. There is a refinement also happened.